Let the choir sing. Morning. Let's see. Ian's here. Corey's here. Christian's here. No Brendan yet. No Hayward yet. Troy is here, of course. No Eli yet. No Nate yet. Chip. Sterling and on Darius. All right. Give everybody a couple minutes to get in. Here comes Nate. Oh, lovely. Can't wait to hear it. Come on, confidence.
Confidence is key.
Confidence is key. All right, here comes Eli. We'll give the others just a minute or so and see if they show up. I'm glad to know you got your thing submitted. I feel like probably not everyone, but I feel like we were doing some good work in here yesterday. I was getting some good questions in the chat and it seemed like people were working hard. So that's good news. I'm sure I mentioned this yesterday, but if you have a failing grade, maybe I didn't mention this yesterday. I did in some classes, but if you have a failing grade, I emailed your parents or guardians or family members or whoever, not to be like, your kid's the worst, get a hold on them, but to be like, hey, report cards are coming out soon. Next Thursday is the end of the quarter, so I don't want there to be any surprises. Oh, Troy, hush. Your grade is good in this class. Y'all wouldn't know it from the comments he makes, but he's doing good in here. But that being said, your podcasts are very important, particularly if you have a failing grade. Thanks for clarifying that. Corey, the rubric is, let me see if it was I'm sure it was last week's module. Yeah, last week's module, the risks and rewards of science multimedia presentation / podcast. It's the next to last thing on last week's module. Y'all are writing like half words. It's not even half words. That's a letter. That's just a letter. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to continue without Brendan or Hayward. Oh no, half words. Honestly, once I mark them absent, they'll probably show up. That's the way that it works. It's the way the cookie crumbles. Well, I'd love for them to join us, because before we are going to start reading. It's on last week's module, Corey. It's the next to last thing on the module. Or you can find it in assignments also. And if you look at assignments, it should be like 2 before the end. No problem. Okay, so we are going to start reading today, but before we do, this is such a typey class, not a chatty one, but hopefully we'll hear some voices. But it's also fine if you type in the chat. I just wanted to like do a few discussion questions, sort of along the line of, you know, if we were in person, I would maybe do it in a four corners scenario, but since we're not, it doesn't really work out that well. But just as we're sort of getting into this book, seeing some themes that are going to emerge, I want to know what you guys think about a few things. So my first question, I'm not going to do all these as like agree, disagree, but I just want to know what you guys think. The first question is, do you think that all children, all babies are innately good? Are people born good?
Well, they haven't, well, technically. So if you want to think of this as a Christian, they haven't sinned yet. So technically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Corey there because I mean, there's no such thing as a bad person until like they've actually done something wrong, and even then, the people can still change. But as far as babies, they've never done anything; they're just coming into the world. So anything, they're very influential. So like they see things and then they do it. So if they see something bad, they're gonna think it's good.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys on that.
Because you could place a baby anywhere in the world and they can learn. Obviously, they'll learn that language anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's true, which is cool. I do see here, absolutely not all babies are evil. And while I might kind of feel that way just because I don't like babies, I don't think that they're actually evil. I think they're annoying, but I don't think that they're evil for a lot of the same reasons you guys just said. Like when you're a baby, you imitate what you see, and eventually they're going to mess up. Eventually they're going to do something bad, maybe not necessarily evil. I don't see any babies walking around murdering anybody, but except for in this one Ray Bradbury story. It does happen in a Ray Bradbury story. But generally speaking, babies don't really know, like they don't really know right from wrong, which is a big part of it. They have to be taught that. So even I feel like when babies start doing things that are bad, they're not doing it because they're bad people or evil. They're doing it because they don't know any better. That's a good answer. We got a lot of good answers here. And a lot of different answers. We do have let's see. Troy, you said no at first, but maybe babies, but children are a different story. Okay. Babies are good. All baby are evil. Yeah, I agree with that. For the most part, it's the parents' fault if they inherit the bad traits from them. Now, it's a whole different ball game to be talking about like people who are actually psychopaths and stuff like that. Like some people are born with something wrong with them where they can't determine the difference between right and wrong, or they can and they just like choose to do a wrong thing, and that might not be the parents' fault. It's like they might not have those traits, but sometimes two really good people have a really crappy baby. So I don't know if that's not okay to say, but it is. Okay. That is what they say Jeffrey Dahmer did. Murderers start by killing neighborhood animals. I don't know if that's a hard and fast rule for all murderers, but yeah, it's a big like indicator that you've got some issues. Which like I just can't imagine killing neighborhood animals. I'd be so sad. I almost hit a cat with my car a couple of mornings ago, and it shook me up a lot. Yeah, it's common. It's probably not everyone.
That's why we have John Wick. He'll avenge them all.
Avenge all of the animals?
Yep, just like when they killed his dog.
Oh, I don't know anything about John Wick. Heard good things though. Troy, I feel like that would make a really interesting story or movie. Imagine you killed a bunch of animals as a child, but there's nothing wrong with you as an adult because humans are more precious than animals. Like if you just don't like animals or like you don't have any empathy towards animals, but towards humans you do. Messed up. It's really messed up. But I would also imagine that there probably are people, like I doubt that serial killers or murderers are the only people who have ever like harmed animals like when they're kids. I feel like kids, particularly like if they're still figuring out the difference between right and wrong, they're just like messing around, which is not okay, but it's a thing. Okay, let's see. Here's a good question. Do you believe that all, wait a minute, do I want to ask it the way it is or do I want to change it? I'll ask it both ways. Do you think that all parents love their children unconditionally, no matter how they look or act? And or do you think that all parents should love their children unconditionally, no matter how they look or act?
Yeah, and no.
Yeah, Christian, what do you think?
I just told you, yeah, and no.
Yeah and no.
That's not very good, but I think that as far as the first part of the question, they don't. I mean, for the most, they do, but they don't. Sometimes, like sometimes you'll have like that child who like you just resent for no reason, just like it's just like a personal problem with you, and then there's like in Wonder August that his parents loved him regardless because he was just special to them.
That movie makes me weep uncontrollably. It's so good. I love that movie. Also, the kid that plays his friend, that like I can't remember the characters' names or anything, but Corey, the issue with that is that we're gonna start reading in a few minutes. So I'd maybe work on it like during like while we're chatting, and then you're gonna want to pay attention once we start reading. The guy who plays his friend in that movie is also in the show The Undoing on HBO. If you have HBO, it's kind of adult, but you should. I feel like it's so good. Like it's just such a good show, and he should get an Emmy nomination for it. He's very good. So a lot of what I'm getting, it is too expensive. You know what? I use Miss Cathan's login. I think Hulu is the only streaming service I pay for on my own. No, I pay for Disney Plus. Hi, Brendan. We are talking about whether parents love their children unconditionally or not. And I'm getting a lot of comments in the chat. They should love their children uncontrollably, unconditionally, but maybe don't. And that's kind of what I was, what some of you were getting at. Like there are definitely parents who don't seem to love their children unconditionally, and maybe that's something about them. Maybe it's also something about the kid. But I also think about, I don't know if you guys ever, you probably haven't read the book, but maybe seen the movie We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is like from a mother's perspective, and her kid was a school shooter. And it's a really interesting book and movie, but even though her kid like did all these horrible things and also killed some people that she knew, like more than just the people in his school, she couldn't like completely be done with him because she was like, he's still my son. And it's hard to watch, hard to think about. Troy, who are you asking? You have to pay for it on your own. Are you asking me or Sterling? I mean, I'm an adult, so of course I pay for things. Me? Yeah, I pay for. Why would I not? You want to have all the streaming services. How am I going to watch episodes of Frasier and Top Model and Catfish? I do I leech off Miss Cathan's HBO. I leech off my brother-in-law's Netflix, but I pay for Hulu and Disney Plus, and I let everybody else leech off my Disney Plus. So we kind of have a little community of streaming service subscriptions. Okay, let's continue. I have a few more questions, and then we're gonna start reading. Do you think that everyone has a hidden monster inside of them?
Yeah, do you know this rapper named YNW Melly?
No?
All right, so yeah, he got two personalities. So yeah.
And one of them is like a more monstrous personality.
Right, exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. What's this guy's name? Will you type it in the chat so I can look him up?
Nope.
Okay. He has more than two personalities. Well, what about like us? Do you think that we all have monsters inside of us?
Yep. When you push people to a certain point, they snap.
I think you might be right. It makes me think of, and I don't know if I should be saying this or not, but neither of these kids go here anymore, so it's fine. When when Ethan Presnell just like kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally Connor McManus, who's like the sweetest kid in the world, took a swing at him because he was just like, "I've had enough."
You see Alan knock his behind out.
Oh yeah, Alan.
And Max Storman
Max did it too.
Norman, did he get in a fight?
in the cafeteria, like Ethan was like messing with him, and he like pushed Ethan and like kicked him because he kept on bothering him. Yeah.
Ugh, I didn't remember that, but I mean, it just goes to show exactly what you're saying. Like, if you push people enough, they'll snap. And like, to his credit, at least Connor McManus was like immediately like, "I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He just pushed me too far. He just pushed me too far." And sometimes that happens. And this monster inside of us, it might not be as bad as like flying off the deep end and like really hurting somebody, but people have another side. And I think there's definitely, even to the most like authentic person, I feel like there's the side that they show everybody and the side that they only show to the people that they're really close to. See, Chip, you were gonna let out your inner monster. Okay, let me see here. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? People cannot develop fully without companionship.
Can you dumb that down a little bit more?
Yes. People need other people to really, oh God, sorry, to really develop into themselves, into like more, I thought I could dumb it down more. People need other people to fully develop.
I see what you're saying. It's like basically how another rapper, what's his name? Roddy Ricch was basically doing the same thing with Nipsey Hussle. Like he used him to climb the ladder, and now he's popping, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So like really needing other people to like help them achieve stuff. Yeah, like that. Chip, you're living proof of this.
Yeah, I feel like people, especially like in the school sense, like if you're homeschooled, you don't have a lot of interaction with people. You can just be like socially just awkward, and it's just kind of hard to get along with people because you've only been around mostly your family all your life.
Yeah, 100%. I have these 4 cousins whom I no longer speak to because they're terrible. But they were all homeschooled their whole lives. They all dressed the same. They're like, they didn't have any friends outside of each other. And they were just like really socially backwards and like didn't understand references that people made, and really just had like, they thought that everybody thought and believed the same things that they thought and believed. And that just wasn't accurate. So they're like very hard to get along with. Definitely, Eli, I agree with you that introverts get along a good bit better without people. But that being said, I'm probably the most introverted person I know. Not that I'm shy, but like I just need alone time. I've lived alone for, 10 years or whatever, and like have no desire to not live alone just because you have so much freedom when you're alone. But that being said, I learned during quarantine that not being able to be around people sucks. And like you do kind of need interaction with other people if you don't want to become Jack Nicholson from The Shining, in my opinion.
It's the same for being an only child too. Like you don't develop a lot of social skills like sharing and stuff at first. And it's just like
Yeah.
a big shock when you do go to school and it's like you got
Oh, you got muted.
yeah, I said like interact with people and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And tends to be like, yeah, since you don't learn about sharing and like compromising with other people, only children can be hard to get along with. Okay, I think I want to ask one more. I kind of want to ask two more. We have time. We'll do two more. Do you think you can judge a book by its cover when it comes to people? Can you judge people by their outer appearances?
No, not at all. Because some people could just have, that resting face where it's just like you don't know if they're social or if they're just in a bad mood, but then they talk to you, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, I agree with that. Chip does not agree with that. He thinks you definitely can. I'd love to hear more about why you think that you can. I agree with you, I think, Sterling, because I mean, have you ever had a friend who like later on is like, this is what I thought about you at first? And you're like, I didn't know I was giving off those vibes. Doesn't always, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. You can produce, like you can judge a book by its cover, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be right about it. Like we do judge books by their covers, but we're not always right.
Fair point. Yeah.
Another huge thing about that question that you just asked a few seconds ago
Mm-hmm.
is I'm an only child, so.
Are you spoiled, Eli?
I'll take that as a yes.
Okay. And I think, unless we have any other thoughts about that, I'm about to move on to the last one. Okay. Agree or disagree with this? Only the person physically committing an act is responsible for the outcome.
Yes.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Yes.
Yes, disagree or yes, agree?
Wait, what was the question again, man?
I forget.
Only the person physically committing an act is responsible for the outcome.
Only the person who's
you get
actually
caught, you
doing
get
the
caught.
job is responsible for the pay. That's
Yeah.
what you said. Yes, that's yeah. Like if you ain't doing no labor, what you getting paid for?
I guess that's true. That's a
You
good
get
way of
caught,
looking
you
at
get
it.
caught.
You got some people disagreeing with you for sure, though.
What? Free? Oh.
No
All right, please explain this to me. Like,
All right,
what makes y'all
Freeman.
think that's okay?
All right, Freeman. If you drive someone to a place and they murder someone, you're guilty by association because you were with them. Or if they rob a bank, you're still guilty by association because you helped them with the act in the end.
That wasn't to your knowledge, though.
It
I
was.
mean, yeah, you still did
I
it, but
think that's totally a fair
that's
point.
a good point. That is a good point.
Well, like you're making a fair point too. It wasn't to your knowledge, but while you might not feel responsible for it, you can still be held
Right.
responsible for it.
I'm gonna be a snitch.
Yeah, that's a good example. Like having been with someone when they're committing a crime. I'm trying to think if there's another example. Oh, there was a documentary that came out about this girl. And I remember when she was in the news because her name was Michelle Carter, and we had a student named Michelle Carter, so I thought that was weird. But this girl was like dating this guy, and he was very depressed and stuff, and he kept saying he was going to kill himself. And there were all these text messages where she was like, "Do it. You need to do it. You need to just kill yourself." And they held her responsible in court, which like
Oh,
it was
was that
definitely
recent? That was
what?
recent. Right?
It was I think it happened in like maybe 2015.
Oh,
But there I think the documentary about it came out like last year and I think is on Hulu. But yeah, because they were like, well, that's sick if she's like encouraging somebody to kill themselves, even if she's not the one to like pull the trigger or anything. I mean, that's not accurate because I think he actually like turned his car on and locked the window. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But even though she didn't actually kill him, she was still held partially responsible because he wouldn't have done it if she hadn't been so encouraging. Crazy story. Okay. So these are things that I definitely want to like revisit after we have been reading for a while because they all definitely have to do with stuff that happens over the course of this book. And I'll be curious to know if your opinions change or if you see really good examples of that kind of thing. So we're going to start reading Frankenstein. And I posted the PDF on Canvas. I'll share my screen so we can read together. Oop, or I'm trying to. That's not it. That's my Audible that I'm listening to. Frankenstein. Here we go. So this is, like I said, this is not a super long book, but it can take a while to get through just because it's tough. Like the language is tough. One of these days I would love to actually like publish a slightly dumbed down version of it just because the story is so good. The plot is really the thing about this book that makes it lasting and like the reason that we still read it. I don't think the language is particularly beautiful or anything, but it's got this little preface which I'm gonna read through. Why did it just say chat? Oh, never mind. Am I going to read this? You know what? No, let's skip it. Y'all can read it if you want to. Okay, so I told you guys yesterday, I think, maybe the day before, that this is a frame narrative. And what that means is it's a story within a story. In this case, it's like a story within a story within a story. But we start out with this guy, Captain Walton, and he is like sailing, trying to find new land. And so the first little while, the first, like, I don't know, we won't get through it today. He writes letters to his sister, and that kind of sets up what's going on in the story. So we're gonna start reading. We hopefully we'll get through like a couple of his letters today. Does anybody want to read? Yeah, right. I'll do it. Sorry, I'll try to like keep this chat up. Christian, you want to read?
who said that?
You sent it to me in a direct chat. You said me.
I feel like Sterling hacking my thing. Hold up.
Nope.
I guess I'll read, I guess.
I mean, I was gonna be very surprised, but I mean, go for it.
Where supposed to start at? You will rejoice to hear that no disaster has accompanied the commencement of an enterprise which you have regarded with such evil forbiddings. I have arrived here yesterday, and my first task is to assure my dear sister of my welfare and increasing confidence in the success of my understanding. I am already far north of London, and as I walk into the streets of Petersburg, I feel a cold northern breeze play upon my cheeks, which braises my nerves and fills me with delight. Do you understand this feeling? This breeze which was traveled from the regions towards which I am advancing. Give me a state of those icy climes, ins- inspired by this wind of promise. My dad's dreams become more f- fervent and vivid. I try to vain to be and persuaded that the poles and is the seat of frost and dislocation. It ever presents itself to the imitation of as the region of beauty and delight. Dear Margaret, the sun is for every visible its broad disk just skirting the horizon and discuss dis,
Diffuse.
diffusing a perpetual splendor. Therefore, with your leave, my sister, I will put some trust in preceding navigators. Their snow and frost are banished, and sailing over a calm sea, we may be with it to a land surprising in wonders and in beauty. Every region hitherto discovered on the habith global. Its productions and features may be without example, as the phenomenon
Phenomenon.
phenomenon of the heavenly bodies and undoubtedly are in those undiscovered salutes what may not be expected in country of eternal light. I may there discover the wondrous powers which attracts the needle and may regulate a thousand solicitations observations that require only things voyage to render their seeming I don't know what that is
Eccentricities.
eccentricities consistent forever. I shall set my
See,
order. Oh shoot, my Wi-Fi.
you good? Oh my gosh, he did. I was just looking for him. Okay, well, I'll let him back in, but I'm gonna keep going. I was just trying to see like where. Okay, I'll chat about it after the end of this paragraph. I shall satiate my ardent curiosity with the sight of a part of the world never before visited, and may tread a land never before imprinted by the foot of man. These are my enticements, and they are sufficient to conquer all fear of danger or death, and to induce me to commence this laborious voyage with the joy a child feels when he embarks in a little boat with his holiday mates on an expedition of discovery up his native river. But supposing all these conjectures to be false, you cannot contest the inestimable benefit which I shall confer on all mankind to the last generation by discovering a passage near the pole to these countries, to reach which at present so many months are requisite, or by ascertaining the secret of the magnet, which, if at all possible, can only be effected by an undertaking such as mine. All right, we're going to pause for just a second. So just in these first few paragraphs, you can kind of see this is tough reading. He uses a lot of big words, lots of long sentences. It can be tough to read, which is one reason that I kind of want to do this beginning part together, because it's just a little bit easier. We figured it out, Christian, no big deal. It's just a little bit easier when you kind of have somebody guiding you that that knows what's going on in the story. So you may have picked up on it, maybe not. He talks earlier here about the poles. He is a captain, and basically what's going on is that he is on a polar expedition, which some of you guys might be familiar with from your podcast topics. And he's trying to tell his sister about it. But this lesson where I started reading, he's talking about how like I want to fill my curiosity with part of the world that's never been visited before. Like that's his big thing. He wants to go into uncharted territory. He feels so much excitement about this. It really like fills him with courage, and it's a dangerous voyage. If you are going somewhere that has never really been charted before, you don't know what you're getting into. But basically he's saying like, if I do this, then people are going to remember me. Like my name is going to be important, because I'm an explorer and I'm going to do something that nobody's ever done before. And this is a big part of this guy's character, actually, the fact that he's so committed to doing this thing that nobody's ever done before. And you might can go ahead and like figure out some certain parallels between him and Victor Frankenstein, because obviously Frankenstein is also trying to do something that no one has ever done before. And I just say that because I think if you don't put that connection together, it's sort of like, well, why are we learning about this explorer? Like, what has he got to do with any of it? We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what he has to do with any of it. But that parallel between him doing new things and exploring new territory is definitely kind of a parallel to Victor exploring new scientific territory and trying to do something that nobody's ever done before by reanimating a dead body. There might be, never mind what I was about to say. Let's continue going. Christian, do you want to read more? It's fine if you don't. All right, I'm gonna keep, unless somebody else wants to. Anybody else want to read? Sterling, Christian is volunteering you. Or on Darius. Anyone? All right, I'm gonna keep going.
I was about to read.
Oh, go for it. Oh my goodness.
Are we at the first?
We're at these reflections.
These reflections has dispelled the aggression with which I may begin letter, and I feel my heart glow with an enthusiasm which elevates me to heaven. For nothing contributes so much to tranquilize the mind as steady purpose. A point on which my soul may fix its intellectual eye. This expedition has been the favorite dream of my early years. I have read with ardor the accounts of various voyages which I have been made in the prospect of arriving at the North Pacific Ocean through the seas of which surround the pole. You may remember that a history of all voyages made for purposes of discovery composed the whole of our good Uncle Thomas' library. My education was neglected, yet I was passionately fond of reading. These volumes were my study day and night, and my familiarity with them increased that regret which I had felt as a child. On learning that my father dying injunction had forbidden my uncle to allow me to embark on a safari life.
Seafaring life. Yeah. So he's just kind of giving some background here about like why he has chosen to do this expedition, why it's important to him. And that's kind of what these next couple of paragraphs are about. Do you want to continue, Corey? You want somebody else to do?
I can keep going. These visions faded when I pursued for the first time those poets whose infusions entranced my soul and lifted it to heaven. I also became a poet and for the 1 year lived in paradise on my own creation. I imagined that also might obtain a niche in the temple where the names of Homer and Shakespeare were concerned. Consecrated. You are well acquainted with my failure and how heavily I bore the disappointment. But just at this time, I inherited the fortune of my cousin and thoughts were turned into the channel of their earlier bent. 6 years have passed since I resolved on my present undertaking. I can even now remember the hour from which I decided myself to this great enterprise. I commanded by enduring my body to hardship. I accompanied the whale fishers on several expeditions to the North Sea. I voluntarily endured cold, famine, thirst, and want of sleep. I often worked harder than the common sailors during the day and devoted my nights to the study of mathematics, the theory of medicine, and those branches of physical science from which a naval adventurer might derive the greatest practical advantages. Twice I actually hired myself as an undermate in the Greenland whaler and acquitted myself to admiration. I must own I felt a little proud of my captain offering me the second dignity in the vessel and treated me with entreated me to remain with the greatest earn I don't know. That's dead. So valuable did he consider my services. All right, someone else can read now.
All right. Anybody else want to? While we are deciding, I think it's really interesting that he talks about, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but he like tried to be a writer for a little bit, like kind of tried to be a poet, which is, I feel like is really out of character for this person just from what we know of him. But maybe says a little something about like how he's kind of, I would say like a big dreamer, like he has these big goals. I know I just stuttered so bad over that. He has these big goals, and I feel like sometimes poets are kind of that way too. You know, they have like these big ideas that they want to put down, and he said that he failed at that, but maybe he can put these big ideas into more action. Eli, we're at, and now dear Margaret.
And now, dear Margaret, do I not deserve to accomplish some great purpose? My life might have been passed in ease and luxury, but I preferred glory to every enticement that wealth placed in my path. Oh, that some encouraging voice would answer in the affirmative. My courage and my resolution are firm, but my hopes fluctuate and my spirits are often depressed. I am about to proceed on a long and difficult voyage, the emergencies of which will demand all my fortitude. I am required not only to raise the spirits of others, but sometimes to sustain my own when theirs are failing. Do you want me to read that next paragraph?
Yeah, that'll be good.
This is the most favorable period for traveling in Russia. They fly quickly over the snow in their sledges. The motion is pleasant and, in my opinion, far more agreeable than that of an English stagecoach. The cold is not excessive if you are wrapped in furs, a dress which I have already adopted, for there is a great difference between walking the deck and remaining seated motionless for hours, when no exercise prevents the blood from actually freezing in your veins. I have no ambition to lose my life on the post road between St. Petersburg and Archangel.
Okay, so he's embarking on this journey, which is obviously going to be dangerous, and they also talk about how cold it's going to be. Like you're just sitting there for hours and hours on end, and if you are in like extreme cold circumstances, unless you're moving around, you're definitely at risk for freezing to death. So this is going to be a really hard thing to do. But also, I think this paragraph is really important because he talks about the fact that he doesn't care so much about wealth. What he cares about is glory. Like he wants to achieve some level of fame for this. And he also talks about how like he has to keep his own spirits up, but as the captain, he also has to keep everybody else's spirits up, which can definitely be a tough job if you have, I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in any kind of like leadership position. I think about like when I was a shift supervisor back in my Starbucks days, like trying to keep everybody feeling good and like not too depressed or morose about what they're doing, especially if the job's really hard like this. That's a tough thing to do. I'm just scrolling down to see like how much longer this is. Okay, anybody want to read these last two paragraphs of this first letter? Okay. I shall depart for the latter town in a fortnight or 3 weeks, and my intention is to hire a ship there, which can easily be done by paying the insurance for the owner, and to engage as many sailors as I think necessary among those who are accustomed to the whale fishing. I do not intend to sail until the month of June, and when shall I return? Ah, dear sister, how can I answer this question? If I succeed, many, many months, perhaps years will pass before you and I may meet. If I fail, you will see me again soon or never. Farewell, my dear, excellent Margaret. Heaven shower down blessings on you and save me that I may again and again testify my gratitude for all your love and kindness. Your affectionate brother, R. Walton. Um, sorry to hear that, Sterling. So he's saying like this is going to be a really long journey, and we don't even know how long, and he might not come back from it. He's willing to sacrifice that because he thinks that the job he's doing is more important than even potentially his own life. And he says that it might be a long time before we see each other again. I might never see you again. Or if I fail, I might be seeing you real soon because this is not going to work out. I'm just taking a little, letter 2 is pretty long. There may be times where rather than like reading through every word, I might be like, right here he talks about blah, blah, and let's move on. Just because personally, I feel like these beginning letters could have been edited a little bit. That's just me. I'm not an author, but that's what I think. So that's where we're going to end for today. I know we only got through one letter, but oh my God. The power just flickered on and off for a second. That was insane. I don't even know how that happened. I was going to look at tomorrow's plan to see what we're up to. We'll read some more tomorrow. And don't forget that your podcasts are due tomorrow night. I know some of you said you've already turned them in, which is great. If you feel like your podcast is awesome and you want everybody to hear it, let me know. It's from the full book, Eli. It starts with these letters from the captain, and then eventually he'll meet Victor Frankenstein, and then Victor will go into his story. So, just kind of getting started on it today. We'll get a little bit more done tomorrow. But don't forget about your podcast. Don't forget to get those turned in. And if you guys have any questions about those as you're finishing up today and tomorrow, just let me know. That's good advice, Chip. He said if anybody, I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but he wrote a script for his podcast, and that really helped. And I can definitely see how that would help. Probably cut down on a lot of like, and like, I don't really know what else to talk about, that kind of thing. Even just like some bullet points to be like, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about, and just kind of proceed through it. I think that's a good idea.
Does anyone have like backup music to their thing?
Yeah, I put background music to mine.
Nice.
Because that's what I was thinking about doing. How did you go about it?
I mean, there's a way you can, if you do it from your phone, you can get this app called InShot, and like you can make like audio in the back of your audio, and you won't be able, if you record it, you won't be able to hear your audio unless you do like from your camera roll and you just have like a visual you put, but you can just put music in the back of it.
Did you get to choose any song?
Yep. I mean, if you want a more walkthrough, like I just did like a thing where I downloaded music from YouTube that's non-copyright and stuff like that, but you just put like some in the background.
Yeah, I tried. I was looking at the song. How did you download it from YouTube? Because this song, I don't know how to download it from YouTube.
I did YouTube MP3.
You said you have to download it on your phone?
Yeah, I'll send you the stuff I'll send you the stuff after when I get to my phone, because I don't have it with me right now.
All right.
Perfect. Nice. Good questions.
Sterling, when you finna get your phone?
It's in my room. I just didn't bring it to my desk.
All right.
All right.
Sterling finna hit you. That's it, Sterling. Christian finna hit you up on Snapchat.
I'm not answering your phone calls.
Yes, you is.
You'll find out. Sadly mistaken.
All right, I gotta let y'all get to your next classes. So like I said, just email me or email each other. Y'all are doing some good collaborative work and giving each other good ideas. So if you guys have any questions about the podcast, email me or someone else. But I'll see y'all tomorrow.